Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam wa rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Dear brothers and sisters, dear viewers, welcome to another episode of the Dawah Factor. And we're basically talking about simple tips on how to give da'wah, how to call people to Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. That who is better in speech? Who is better in speech than the one who says, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ, the one who calls people to Islam, the one who calls people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he works righteous deeds. He doesn't just call people to Islam, he doesn't just call people to da'wah, but he actually does the things. He actually implements what he preaches. He practices what he preaches. And then he says, I am from the Muslims. So this is something very important, brothers and sisters, that we understand the importance of da'wah. It is something that is every single person who says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, has a responsibility in their own, with their own ability and their own environment, their own possibilities, to give da'wah, to call people to Islam, to tell them about who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, does that have to mean that you have to go to walk from door to door and knock at everyone's door? That's not necessarily the case for every single person. There's people who are doing that, and people who are specialized in that, and people who are good at doing it. There's other people who are good at media or calling people to Islam through the media, through the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, the good of it anyway. And there's people who are doing it by teaching others. There's different aspects of da'wah. But you, brother and sister, have to find your way. You have to find what you are good at. You have to find what can you do as a Muslim to invite people to Islam, to tell people about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the very important things that a lot of people misunderstand, they say that I don't know too much about Islam. I don't have a lot of knowledge about Islam. I'll let the people of knowledge do this work. And this is not correct. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. Just convey from me, even if it's one verse, one ayah, one revelation. Every single one of us knows La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. So we need to give da'wah. We need to try with our neighbors. We need to try with our families. The closest to us are the most important. Our families, our neighbors. And subhanAllah, sometimes I get very sad that we can reach people all over the world, but we do neglect our neighbors. We do neglect our families. So we need to make sure, first and foremost in da'wah, that we understand that it's a responsibility. It is a responsibility upon our shoulders. If every single Muslim takes this responsibility seriously, without a doubt, we will see changes in Islam. We will see people accepting Islam. We will see people at least clearing the misconceptions about Islam. Number two, we start from the closest. Okay, we start from our families, our neighbors, the people on the street, the people and so on and so forth, and move on. Number three, there's many different ways of giving da'wah. Find the best way that works for you. It can be writing a book, it can be making a movie, it can be going from door to door sometimes and talking to people on the bus, on the street, depending on what the circumstances are. Number four, use hikmah, use wisdom. When you go and talk to people, don't just jump into from point to point in different places and push them away. Bashiran wa nadhiran. Okay, first give them the bushra. Talk that, there's heaven, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to forgive the people. But also warn them. Warn them that there is hellfire. A lot of people say, we shouldn't talk about hellfire. But guess what? The Prophet ﷺ, when he first stood on that small mount in Mecca, and he warned the Quraysh, he warned them about punishment. He warned them about hellfire. So warn people about that. A lot of people think that, no, we cannot. We have to be just nice and just show a good example. It's not just about that. Yes, it is important to show a good example. And that is my next point. Be a good example. But do not forget to warn people. Do not forget to tell people about hellfire. Tell people about also Jannah, about paradise, about how Allah is the most merciful, the most gracious, and wants to forgive them. So the next point, as I said, be a good example, a good role model. So many times we approach Islam from a very superficial way. We just address, just a look, but the inside is empty. Make sure that we have good manners. إِنَّمَا بُئِثْتُ لِيُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. The Prophet ﷺ said that I was sent so I can perfect manners. Have good manners. If you call people to Islam, you call people to say, you know, Allah is the one and only who created you. Allah, Islam is the right path. Islam is the key to paradise. And you act in a horrible way. You just, you know, litter and just corrupt and cause many problems and insult people. You're not helpful and so on. Do you think people will actually follow? Muhammad ﷺ was called Al-Amin. He was established in his community for his trustworthiness. He was established for his character. So establish yourself with your character. It is important. You can do many things. It is important. So show a good example, a good role model that people can look at and say, this is a righteous person. I can actually listen to this guy. At least listen to what he has to say. So, brothers and sisters, these are just a few points. The issue that I want to redirect at you again is that this responsibility of dawah, it weighs heavily on our shoulders. This Quran is heavy and it needs to be spread. It needs to be told about to people. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إِنَّا سَنُلْقِي عَلَيْكَ قَوْلًا ثَقِيلًا, that we will reveal to you or give you a very heavy speech. Subhanallah. And in another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشيا متصدعا من خشية الله. If this Quran were to be revealed on a mountain, the symbol of strength, you will see it humble, crumble itself from the khashya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among the da'i, among the righteous people, those who practice what they preach, those who are strong and call people to Islam, to the right path. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.